Indianapolis, Indiana side of the Scouting Combine. We continue our conversations with coaches and general managers with another first-year GM. Still might have that new GM smell.
Oh,
John
yeah?
Spytek of the Las Vegas Raiders.
What does that
John,
smell?
It
Money.
smells like money,
No.
newness, excitement,
No.
right?
especially in Las Vegas.
Excitement. Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to take all my money in Vegas. I'm staying away from those places.
First thing I'm interested in, right, and congratulations on the job.
thank
It's
you.
awesome. And I've heard a lot of good things about you through the years. But I'm just interested in, you went to school with Brady, right? You were in Tampa with Brady and Jason Light, who's walking by us right here behind us and all that too. You know, what was your relationship with Brady in Tampa or even Michigan?
You know, Michigan, I was a redshirt freshman on the scout team getting pummeled by Steve Hutchinson and Jeff Backus every day.
Right.
It's kind of what I remember. I think the great thing I would say about Tom is, he was always present in the locker room and with, much more junior people like freshmen. He's a fifth-year guy, captain, and he spent time with everybody on the team.
Right.
I went away he went away and won Super Bowls, and I went and was an intern and, a scouting assistant and all that stuff. And we find our way back to Tampa, and that's really where I think we kind of reconnected over, just our love of football and the Michigan experience and winning. And, he would probably tell you he remembered me when he walked into the Tampa building. I would call BS on that. I don't think there's a
I
chance.
like it.
If you put two people up there, he would just be guessing, 50% chance. But, yeah, it's been great to work with him again, both in Tampa and now in Vegas, and what a resource to have.
Right.
There's a lot of different questions and reports and speculation about how involved he is. From your perspective, how involved has Tom Brady been in his role as a minority owner, but apparently a bigger influence than that on the team?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows he was part of the interview process, both with the GMs and the head coaches. And since the Super Bowls ended, he's been a little bit more present in my text messages and my phone calls, but just really out of curiosity, what are we thinking here? And have you considered this? And he's just a football, you guys know him. I mean, he's a football junkie, and he can't quit it.
Right.
And, he's, the one thing I'll say is he's not doing this for any other reason than to win. And as you would expect, he's got a lot of thoughts on how we should get that accomplished, and I think rightfully so. So I try to act as the buffer a little bit, and the sounding board, and I would be some kind of idiot to not listen to him on a lot of thoughts too. And he's also trying to learn basically the entirety of the process too, about how we put rosters together and all that.
Who's been your biggest influence? You were part of some really damn good teams in Denver, of course Tampa, but who was the guy you would say you learned the most from, or the situation you learned the most from?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, my relationship with Jason the last 9 years has taught me so much. I mean, we went from obviously when he got there 2 years before me, they won 2 games, and we grew it into a Super Bowl champion, found our way to a bunch of different quarterbacks, and just the way that he is every day and manages people, the way he empowers the scouts and the people that work around him, I think has been great. The other person that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is Tom Heckert, the late Tom Heckert, who really he was the GM in Tampa or in Philly when I got started, and he gave me opportunities at a young age. I mean, made me a college scouting director with the Browns when I was 29, and we didn't win enough games there, but I learned so much from him, and just giving young people that are passionate about things opportunity. And those two are in my scouting journey at the forefront of that journey.
Is there
that
oh, sorry, I didn't
or
mean to
just
cut
of that
bad.
of the importance in my life.
My bad. I did not mean to cut you off
That's
there. I was going to ask you, is there something that Jason Light, right? I'm always a fan of his ability, his eye for talent, that maybe he brought to the table that opened your eye up to go, ooh, I never looked at a player like that, or kind of looked at that aspect of a player to give it more value. Was there anything there, or am I just, BSing here? I don't know.
I mean, I would start with Ali Marpet. We kind of fell into this, and I'm going to give away his secrets now because I'm not there anymore.
Good, give him away.
But we kind of fell into this rhythm with just one thought, just like the offensive lineman at the small school that plays left tackle that you then move in as an interior lineman, right? So Ali Marpet, left tackle at Hobart, plays guard. Alex Kappa, left tackle at Humboldt, plays guard. Ryan Jensen, Colorado Pueblo, left tackle, plays center.
Right.
Graham Barton, left tackle, move him inside. And he just kind of had this feeling these guys at these programs, they're not necessarily left tackles or tackle bodies, but they are the best athlete. That's where they put people. Right. And it's not earth-shattering an idea here, but man, we really, I mean, you can see the players are just named off. We really hit on it. And I think the strength of our team, at least the last 5 or 6 years, has really been that
That's
O-line.
cool. That's a cool answer. Really cool.
Well, you talk about strength of the offensive line, something Chris and I were discussing earlier, the fact that the Packers have proposed, reportedly the Packers, an elimination of the tush push, and the pushback against that is, hey, just go out and get a kick-ass offensive line. It sounds easier said than done.
Yeah.
Right? What's the biggest challenge when it comes, beyond the fact that 31 other teams want the same guys, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to identifying who good offensive linemen are going to be?
I have one thought on the tush push thing. If you get Vita Vea, you got a chance.
Well, I said the Bucks are the one team that kind of give them. Like, you got to get some of the guys.
Did KJ Brick grab his face mask on that play? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's for the eye of the beholder. But for the O-line, we kind of established a mentality in those guys and a character that made them a cohesive group. I mean, that group last year in Tampa was a bunch of really special people and players, and we kind of had some non-negotiables in what we were looking for. Both character and really physical traits, and we just kind of stuck to those things. And we grew a good group together, and the continuity they had and their durability in particular, like those guys played a lot of games together, like that working mentality was awesome. And just the like-mindedness of it. Those guys hung out all the time. I mean, Tristan was just on a podcast recently talking about Robert Hainsey and how he's one of his best friends in the world and what a stud human he is, and I would echo that. Like, those guys are just a bunch of good dudes in that room.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of another good dude, one of our buddies, Maxx Crosby, right? He kind of talked to us at the Super Bowl in depth about, he had concerns about where the organization was going, and he was pretty candid. He liked the answers that he got from you and the rest of the organization. But, yeah, how do you kind of view him and his place in the organization, and what did you say to him to kind of make him feel more comfortable?
We just had a great conversation that started with getting to know each other, asking about his family and his daughter and, how important those people are to him. And, his wife's been with him through, for a long time now,
right.
Been with him through all of it.
And battles, yeah.
And just, I learned that from Jason. Like, let's get to know these players a little bit. His relationships with them has really helped him form that community feeling that we had in Tampa. And, my conversation with Max just started, listen, I acknowledge he's one of the best players at his position in the NFL. Like, we talk about Pete and I talk about what we want a Raider to be. I mean, this guy plays 100% of the snaps at a premium position where high effort is required, and he never slows down. I mean, it's really kind of one-of-one stuff. And he's talked about wanting to win a championship, and I think that's what we all want to do too. But he sees where I've come from. He sees where Pete's come from. Obviously, what Tom's about. Those two have had conversations, and so, our hope is just that this works for a long time. He's been open about that. We've been open about that, and I think it's a good place to start as we get to know each other.
You've got plenty of options at the quarterback position. We talked earlier about Tom Brady's general involvement with you and the team. How involved will he be in sifting through the quarterbacks and giving his input on which way the team should go?
He'll be involved as he wants to be. So far, it's just been some kind of low-level conversations about what. Listen, I know what he sees quarterback play as. I mean, that became abundantly clear to me in my years in Tampa and meeting with him and all that stuff. And it's going to require a lot to live up to his standards. I mean, that in particular. So I would use him as a massive resource for what's going to be important. And as we kind of go through this process, of course, we're going to talk to him about the players that are available both in free agency and the draft.
Do you see him as wanting a guy who is a tactically good thrower, or is it, I want the guy who's going to be the person in the locker room that holds everybody accountable, that says what needs to be said, because it's so much more persuasive when it comes from a player than a coach? Is it the combination of player and leader that he's going to be trying to steer you guys toward?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that there is, but to me, he's always said that your best players better be your best leaders. It kind of starts with that, and so there's going to be a premium in it for it. The guy better be about football and be about have a passionate desire to get better every day and burn the wick's end at both sides. I mean, that's just the way he was, and he doesn't know any different. And I think you're going to have a hard. Same thing with Peyton Manning when I was in Denver, like just willing to do kind of the uncommon thing, and enough awareness with both of those men to realize that not everybody can reach that threshold,
right.
But they better be chasing that in a sense, or they're going to have a hard time existing around him and in our building more than likely.
What's your overall assessment of this draft right here? Just is there a position that jumps out to you, or a blanket statement that you think makes sense for the draft? We've heard the trenches are deep, right? People talk about that.
Yeah.
But is there anything else in Spytek world or on your radar that really jumps out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there's a bunch of good players up and down both lines. I think the running backs have a good group. The tight ends is another good group.
Yeah. Seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, and it kind of lends ourselves outside of the tight end room. We have two pretty good ones. It kind of lends itself to hopefully us having a chance to really build our lines up front and maybe get a good runner somewhere that can take the pressure off whoever the quarterback is. Because I do feel that our job really is to make the quarterback's job as easy as possible, knowing that it's a really hard job. And the more good players we can put around them and the less pressure we can take off of them, the better. Or the more pressure we can take off of them.
Why do you think there wasn't more interest in your new head coach, Pete Carroll? I think he interviewed with the Bears and the Raiders, and that was it. You surprised that guy's Super Bowl winning head coach, had great success at USC and Seattle. Surprised he was available for you guys to get?
I am a little bit. After 2 minutes of a conversation that I had with him just to get to know each other, it was apparent his fire and his passion for the game still burns really deep. And, to him, age is just a number, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And he doesn't feel like that when I talk to him. He has me questioning my youth. And, so after – I don't know why you wouldn't explore that. Yeah, I'm just in the seat that I sit in. I'm pretty damn grateful that people didn't, and I get a chance to work with him first time GM and being around somebody as accredited as him and has the vision. There's a lot of things that I don't need to worry about right now that I know he's got taken care of.
He'll be out there before the game, throwing the ball around, running around.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. He transforms when he goes out onto the field.
He was last weekend. He had his family in town. His kids were in town. His grandkids in my office. I can see. Under the indoor building, there was a full football game going on out here with him and his grandkids. They were kicking off and everything. And I told him, I saw your grandson house a kickoff on you, and he said I was trying to get him, I couldn't catch him.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
There's not too many coaches I've ever seen do that. So
No.
it was pretty cool.
Definitely not, especially at that age too. That's what's even more amazing. How about I've asked that just about every coach and GM. What's the most annoying or hard position to evaluate for them, right? We've gotten a variety of answers. We've gotten safety, we've gotten linebacker, we've gotten, what else that we're missing? Safeties a bunch of times, actually. Is there one for you that you find to be your kryptonite or a little bit more annoying than others?
I get why people say safeties, but
Yeah.
I've always kind of disagreed with that. I think really good safeties show themselves to you really fast. They
Gotcha.
find a way to be involved in the games, and the ones that aren't maybe as good, they find a way to, where does this guy been for a while?
Right.
I think the hard one for me can be corner because the good ones don't get a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go through all the targets and the ball, the production on the ball and the interceptions, and it's like, boy, they just don't throw at them very much.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you end up sometimes, I think, relying more on traits at that position than other positions where they're more involved in it all the time, right? Like when you go to Darrelle Revis, like people didn't throw at him.
Yeah,
I mean, Brady would be
sure.
like, I'm not throwing at that guy.
Right.
So we all know he's good, but how did we learn? that
Right.
he's
Like
good?
watching Quinyon Mitchell last year, there were certain games where you're like, damn, he didn't get any action.
Didn't get any
here.
action.
Right.
You
right.
can go games and not see balls thrown at certain guys.
Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge to survive in the division you're in with 3 playoff teams and 3 great quarterbacks and 3 great coaches and maybe 4 great coaches now? But I'm sure there may be times you're thinking, God, can we check? Can we get traded to a new division? What's your biggest challenge in trying to keep up with those teams?
Yeah, I mean, there's the elephant in the room is there's 3 really good quarterbacks and 3 really great quarterbacks, and so we've got to figure out a way while we work to find the quarterback that can get us on the same level with them, on how to really, in my opinion, limit those guys' ability to beat us. And the Super Bowl provides a great blueprint for that. You play great defense and you run the ball, and you got a chance to limit a really iconic, great player of all time's impact on the game. It's really hard to do, especially when you have 3 really good coaches over there too. And we're going to have to find creative ways to stay in those games, and then kind of use, I think, the competition model that Pete's creating. Like we're just going to have to play a little bit harder, a little bit longer than those guys, and just kind of lean into the uncomfortable. Like this isn't going to be score 40 points and blow
Right.
the Chiefs out. Like that's just not how it's going to go, and we can acknowledge that and try to find a way through.
Yeah, the Eagles gave everybody a hell of a blueprint. Now you got to go get the bricks.
Got to get the roster.
Yeah.
It's an elite roster. Yeah. Tip of the
All
cap to Howie on that. It's a great roster.
We'll let you get back to work on finding that Eagles-style roster. He's John Spytek, Raiders GM. Thanks for some of your time. Congratulations and all the best. We'll be back with more from Indy.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.